Hello, hello, hello. Good evening. Hello, Aaron, Philip, Rachel. Hello. Hello. The last evening. Save act past the house, or am I? So no, the actual Save Act did not pass. They passed a reconciliation bill that had money in it to try and get some of the Save Act things to happen, but the Save Act did not pass. Which I don't think a lot of people don't think it'll get through reconciliation, but that's what they're trying to do. Hey, Minnie. Hello, good evening. It's the last evening live. You guys excited for morning lives to come back next week? I'm kind of excited for morning lives to come back next week. Although Tuesdays ones is gonna be a little later than normal because I've got an interview to do at 10 o'clock a.m. on Tuesday. But Mitch McConnell is Schrodinger's politician. Don't want to open the door, so at the moment he's both alive and unalive. Hey, Jeremiah. As long as the door doesn't open, he's both at the same time. It's never enough money, Fish Kebab. You know that. Never stealing enough money. There's always more for him to steal. Come on. I'm enjoying this not triple digit weather today. Gonna be 5 to 6 days straight coming up. And it's your birthday tomorrow. Well, happy early birthday since I won't be going live tomorrow. I'll wish you a happy birthday now. He wants it all. McConnell is the perfect conservative now. Yeah. I remember when the war broke out and you said this war would last 6 months, and here we are. At least. Yep. I said there was definitely no way it was going to be ending when they said it was going to. I also didn't think they would make I should have guessed they would have made as many stupid mistakes, but I kind of hoped they wouldn't make this many stupid mistakes, but here we go. What's up, OC? And hey, Emmeline, how are you? Hey, Silver. So if you guys didn't see the pictures, I had an interesting day yesterday. A very, very interesting day. I was driving down the street and my tire fell off while driving. So that was fun. How much did oil go up today? At one point it was $25 for the Murban $17 for Murban, 7 for Brent. I think WTI went up about 6. Yeah, it is all-wheel drive. Luckily, it's rear-wheel drive when it's 2 wheels. That's probably one of the few things that saved my butt too. But no, I didn't hit a pothole. The wheels just sheared off, or the bolts just sheared off on some of them, and it just literally popped off. Mr. Global's concerned, which scares the crap out of me. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, that was why I didn't go live yesterday, because I was dealing with that. You near the coastline? I'm not near the coastline, no. No, this wasn't a saltwater problem. This was I'm not exactly sure what it was problem, but it wasn't a saltwater problem. Me too. In the end, I'm glad I'm safe, even though I'm not looking forward to having to deal with it. Houston's about to get hit by a hurricane. Woohoo! Yeehaw! Me too, Teach. Me too. In the end, me too. Yeah, the weird thing was watching my wheel roll by as I was still moving forward. That was really weird. And the fact that it didn't hit anybody is shocking, because this happened on a very busy street. Pete Hegseth is asking for 1.5 trillion. Yep. China's holding off the crisis. They started holding it off, but I think it's getting to a point where even they're, from what I've heard from people like Mr. Global, that is just slowing the crisis. It's not holding it off. But yes, China not importing as much slowed down the us going into crisis mode. Yeah, China can only slow it, especially with the Bab el Mandeb Strait basically shut down to oil as well. Voting. If I voted during early vote, do I go vote again during November? Yes. So the early voting you'd be doing now, Mary, would be just for the primaries. So once the primaries are done, you have to find out when your early voting is for the general election, and you can early vote or vote on November 4th, 6th, whatever, 3rd. I forget what day it is. Yeah. Mr. Global said that if things stay the way they're going through the end of through the next like 5 or 6 days, we will see diesel at almost $6 and gas at almost $5. It's November 3rd. Okay. I can never remember. It really depends at this point on how long and how complete these closures end up being. I mean, I know I was watching someone else that were talking about the fact that, yeah, there's some countries that are trying to do some stuff to make it so we're not as reliant on the oil. But that's going to take years to put in place in most cases. Do you think the automatic registration for the draft is serious? No. No. We still were required to register for the draft. I don't understand why people have an issue with it being automatic. But that's me. I'm sure there are some people that have an issue with it. But once I turned 18, I was required to register for the draft. I didn't get a choice in the matter. So, no, I don't think it's serious. They're saying that it's to use it for when they do a... Yeah, I don't think so. Enacting the draft would require, I believe would require congressional approval. I don't think the president can just do it, but... It was never automatic. It was always required. So we as 18-year-old men had to... Yeah, but escalating has a large... There's a lot of space between where it is now and having to enact a draft. There's troops, there's National Guard, there's a lot that would go before they would enact a draft. Not to mention every Republican would get voted out of office if they tried to enact a draft. What's up, Patty? Good evening. How are you doing? Yeah, but it's one thing to say, it's enacting a draft is very different, Garpu. That requires a lot more, that requires just a lot more. Good evening, Ambrosia. I'm not worried about the draft. I don't think we'll ever see a draft again. Unless we actually unless we are actually invaded. What do you mean your vote won't count if it's blue? No, I do not think the SAVE Act will pass through reconciliation. I think the government would collapse from unaffordable gas long before a draft. It's possible, I guess. But yeah, multiple people in multiple senators in Congress have already said that they wouldn't vote for any form of the SAVE Act. Why aren't I a leftist? I don't consider myself anything. I have fundamentals, I have the direction I want the world to go, but I don't identify as anything. At most, I identify as a progressive. Because I think we should be constantly thinking about progressing as a society. Now, do my fundamentals lean Progressive? Yes. No, they have not been invaded by that. They will not try and deny Democrats votes. They will just make it difficult to vote, but they will not deny Democrats votes. Destroyed your online store and your income? I'm sorry, Julie. I can farm and hunt and fish and have land and have an arsenal between myself and Trusty parents. Have that would make a guy in Tremors jealous. Despite 34 convicted felonies, 70 million people voted for him. Yep. They were convinced that it's more important to be afraid of trans people than it is that they were literally willing to overlook everything because they were convinced that the problem was immigrants. That they should be afraid of trans people and immigrants. It's disgusting, but it's also unfortunately not a new problem in the United States. We've been doing that since the beginning, unfortunately. We are really good at othering people. We're great at it, in fact. We are great at othering people. I think there's a chance of us progressing more. But Gen X are an issue too. As someone in Gen X, I will admit that Gen X are an issue too, especially men in Gen X. So, yes, I think we have the potential of progressing more, but Gen Z numbers are bigger. Yep. But the problem that Gen Z is dealing with is they're struggling with all of the people, not all, too many of the people that they looked up to still view the world in a shitty way. So, especially guys are going to have to, there's going to be a lot of struggling. So we'll get there, I think, but it's gonna take some time. Okay, Billy. Uh-huh. Democratic Party is not over. Thanks for playing. Anyone that's got to say that they have a big D means they have a tiny D, by the way. Just putting it out there. I know, right, Big A? No one's protecting fraud. There are tons of measures to protect elections. Every state has measures to protect their elections. What are you talking about, Chosen One? Literally every single state has protections set up for their elections. We have some of the safest elections ever. Can the midterms be expedited? I wish. What happens after the midterms is what scares me. He doesn't take losing well. I agree, Gina. That is frightening. It's one of the reasons why we have to win big. Too big to rig, exactly. The hungry effect. That's what it's got to be. It's the hungry effect. Oh, I think they're still going to complain, but it's going to be much harder to... It's harder to claim any sort of fraud when you win by 20 points. What now? I just hope the institutions will hold. Literally, conservative agendas are the same agendas. I don't know what you're talking about. Conservative agendas are literally old agendas that haven't worked. So trying to pretend that the conservatives are any different is kind of hilarious. I just hope the institutions will hold. Me too. Hint, the word conservative, exactly. Your determination to turn things around. It's what we all got to do. We need new ideas. Absolutely, we do. Conservatives are the party of the Krispy Kremes. Grow up, Tony. Parties are just corporations. This is my channel. I can mute whoever I want. You don't have any rights here. You love tariffs? That's weird. You love paying more money? That's dumb. Judges ruled his tariffs are illegal. How's he getting? He ruled certain tariffs are illegal. Not all of them. He did some of his tariffs under one law and other tariffs under a different law. The The only tariffs that were considered illegal were the ones under the, forget which one he used. The alien something invasion act or something like that. I forget what it's called. Put a tariff on a penguin island. That's true. He did for a little while. They're eating the dogs. They're eating the cats. Donald Trump. See? I can do it too, chosen one. I'm hearing Macca is big mad about us joining forces with the IDF. Yeah. They don't want it to be about another country. It's the thing people aren't getting. The I country played their hand too heavily, and now they're losing support everywhere. Oh, he's losing support like crazy. You like paying more money for things, Joseph? That's weird. And Iran isn't destroyed. They're doing more damage to other people. He even got ousted not long ago. That's true. Yep. A lot of the country does want him out. Why would we send our social workers to Iran? Social workers should be working here. He's trying to get him 95 billion. It's got to work its way through reconciliation, which I don't know how much of it's going to make it through reconciliation. Especially since they're not actually reducing any costs in order to get that 95 billion through right now. So I don't know what's going to happen. Why would Schumer get it passed? Oh, the ambassador of the I country wanted the ICC to arrest Zohran Mamdani. Of course they did. An idiot. You're right. Schumer does do nothing. So does Trump. Trump passes gas wherever he goes. So did Mitch McConnell. So do all the other old farts. He's not addressing any problems, Hank. He's making them worse. She wanna. I don't care. I don't do things based on where I will be when I pass. They don't have them, Hank. And according to everyone in the know, they haven't been in the process of making one. And to be fair, I am more afraid of this administration currently than I am. How does anyone know that? How did they know that they were 2 weeks away? That's why they had to do what they do. Supposedly they were 2 weeks away. How did they know that? The same way the people that knew that they weren't going for it knew it. Israel has been saying, the I country's been saying for 30 years that they were 2 weeks away from a nuclear weapon. You know what they haven't had in 30 years? A nuclear weapon. Literally, Bibi's been saying for 30 years that they were 2 weeks away. Special ops. I'm guessing they're not going to tell us. Okay. They won't tell the world. Uh-huh. Okay. Biden's not president. You're right. He was for 4 years. He's not anymore. I care about now. I care about what this administration, this current administration, the one that is currently in charge, is doing. Just like when he's gone, I'll care about the new president. That's how it works. Stop focusing on the people that are gone. I know. They got Biden derangement syndrome. I don't know. Ask the FBI, chosen one. Oh my gosh. People are weird. People are so weird. Yeah, most of us can't. Yeah, again, the things they're defending are wild. The fact that they think a man who has literally who's most known for being a liar and a grifter and a fraud, the fact that anyone believed this man would tell the truth ever is still just boggles my mind. You haven't seen progressives this angry since the conservative. What? You haven't seen progressives freed the slaves, not conservatives. Cody. Progressives freed the slaves. But thanks for playing. Yeah, you can't type now either. But yeah, when I woke up this morning and saw that Middle Eastern oil had gone up like $25, I was like, yeah. Yeah, we're in trouble. I knew we were in trouble. This is the thing. It's like, how many more ways can this man increase our costs? Literally in the same week. That's right, Philip. I can't forget all that. Make America suffer again. Massa. Yep. That's true, Steven. It's just the what was I seeing? I saw someone talk about the fact that the only positive that we can take from oil going up as much as it did was the fact that a lot of people that shorted because there were talks of a peace deal, a ceasefire again, once oil shot up, they lost so much money. All the people that were trying to short on the insider information just lost millions, if not billions of dollars. Aw. I feel so bad for those billionaires losing all that money by using insider information. Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for helping achieve that goal. Make a new one. Never in the history of America were we ever supposed to have nuclear weapons in the Middle East. I mean, helps pollution if less people drive. That is true, Paul. Two states, crows, Russia having issues. Yeah. Yeah. That is true. If less people drive, we got less pollution. Silver linings. Good evening, Heidi. How are you? Public transportation, baby, all the way. Maybe that'll get some more public transportation built. I would do that in a heartbeat if I was in office. Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, most cities are built around cars, not public transportation. That's the biggest problem. I wish cities built public transportation into the design when they were building out the cities, but most don't, and it's frustrating. E-bikes. Yep. I was considering getting an e-bike. Still am, especially now that I have a car with one less wheel on it. Vegas is getting a fast train that's going from Cali. They've been talking about high-speed rail between DFW and Houston and Austin for over a decade now. Yeah, the problem is they need to talk about it and do it before they expand the cities as much as they have. Once they've made the cities as big as they have, it becomes like a million times harder to make something like that. Funnest thing I've done since I was a kid. Yeah, toll roads. So much better than public transportation. They're also gonna build a second airport near Jean, Nevada. Really? Oh, I think it's more than $37.5 billion. I think he's underestimating what we've spent because we have to pay money to rebuild all of, so there's been this whole talk about when the government is estimating their cost compared to the actual cost, they're using the actual cost of some of these munitions when they were built the first time, not what they're gonna what it's gonna cost to replace them in 2026 market. The cost of rearming our military is much higher than it was when we first built everything. Going out towards California, it's before you hit Prime, Nevada. Interesting. They're really trying to get more people to go to Las Vegas. I don't think people realize how little money people have. But I don't know what the actual number is, but I know that like when like planes went down, Prim, sorry. When planes went down, they were talking about the cost, and they were saying how the government was giving the cost when it was initially built, not what it would cost to replace one of these planes. So it would not surprise me if the overarching cost is actually higher. Nevada has less than 3,000 inhabitants there. Why an airport? Because there's probably space. That's probably it in the end. I just can't believe there's that many people going to Vegas anymore. Like the kind of people with the kind of money necessary, the kind of people with money with disposable funds to be able to go to Vegas can't be what it used to be. No, Thomas, I'm talking to you. And everybody else in chat. That's how a live works. You sit and talk. It's actually hard to find a job here in Vegas, I bet. Right now, I bet. I mean, it's hard everywhere. There are very few places that aren't struggling to find jobs. You keep using that word. I do not think it means what you think it means. Bum, 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 ba-da. But yeah, we were talking about before how foreclosures are up 21%, which is really dangerous. Like really dangerous. Especially considering the reason that a lot of them are foreclosing is for similar reasons for the 2008 recession. I saw today that Jasmine Crockett endorsed Bridget Brink. Who's that? Who's Bridget Brink? State level candidate, I'm assuming. I've heard a lot of taxi companies have gone to leasing out their cabs. Michigan 7th District APAC is backing her. Yeah. This is the hard part about all of this. The reality of winning is there is not a black and white way to win and to fix things. And while I don't agree with it, she's ambassador to Ukraine now running for House. Okay. Interesting. A lot of companies are charging over $1,000 a week to lease a cab. Dang. Who the heck can afford that? Who the heck would take that? Aw, unavailable. How old do you think I am? Before you answer, know that I have a 19-year-old daughter. I had to leave the cab industry because of it. Yeah, that's crazy. Well, I'm glad the person polling higher than Brink isn't taking APAC money. The fact is You look young for your age. Well, I appreciate that. You're not the first person to think that. I would argue, I would make a statement though that age does not guarantee knowledge. Either way, just because someone's young doesn't mean they don't know what they're talking about. Just because someone's old doesn't mean they do know what they're talking about. Look at our president. He's 80 and he don't know shit. I wouldn't even say most of the time. I would actually argue that in 2026, age does not bring wisdom into how the world works right now, because the world is very different than it was even when I was a kid. All the scam callers tell you you have a young voice. Isn't that nice of them? Sure, you have a very young voice, Annette. Everything's going up in a very noticeable way. Yes. Young people are less intelligent. Disagree. Disagree. Are there young people that are less intelligent? Sure. Just like that there are old people that are wise. Okay. Uh, about the ways of the world they are. What ways of the world? Again, I would argue that our president is 80 years old and is one of the dumbest people when it comes to the ways of the world that there is. He thought the word grocery was an old word that no one uses anymore. Again, I understand what you're saying, but we need to be careful about it, because that's not always true. I think black and whiting statements like that makes having a conversation impossible. It ignores the realities that kids, the younger generations have gone through to get where they are, which is a world very different than anything that any of us have experienced. Most people older than me have no ability to fully understand and grasp what life is like for a kid growing up right now, because we all compare it to when we were a kid and it's very different. And I think we sometimes interact with them as though we know how to do things when it's not the same. It's just not. Again, does that mean they know everything? No, of course it doesn't. But I think we are making things more difficult, not only for them, but for society as a whole, by not accepting, understanding, and learning how things are actually different now. Especially since we're the ones that are in charge mostly right now. We're actually making things worse because of it. So that's why I say, well, when you know nothing. Okay. And again, this isn't a left right anyone can. Yeah, you're doing it right now. Well, kids aren't raised like they used to either. It's not their fault. They're raised differently. Because different things happen. Just like the kids during World War II were raised differently than the kids before them. That's just how it works. Society changes and kids get raised differently. The funny thing is the things that older people complain about younger generations the most were created by the older people. Algorithms created by older people. Like the internet was created by the older generations. Like all of the things that we complain about as older generations, and I say we because I am Gen X, the most, we created. We created the systems. We created all of this stuff. We are the reason. We're the reason that kids get participation trophies. And yet we complain that our kids get participation trophies. But we created it. We did it. Technically, that makes it feel like we are the problem, not the kids. Hey, Laura. Hey, Shane. We aren't doing enough work trying to understand how these younger generations view the world. What's up, Scott? Hey, James. Hey, Jelly. Social media we created, yeah. Things are so... America is back, baby. $25 increase in oil. We're back. Right, Scott?
Yeah, I mean, Brent crude finished today at $100.62, I think.
It's already up another buck or something since
Oh,
then.
is it really? Rising still. Well, here we go.
Oh, no, it's 100.8. It's up 0.8 since it closed.
Jesus Christ. That's just, well, good news for the Democrats for the midterms. This ought to be the final nail in the coffin. Then the only issue is how much they try and steal it, which I think the speech last week was round one of laying the groundwork.
Yeah, unavailable. And again, I'm not sitting here. Look, here's the reality that we all need to come to, whether or not, and if we truly want to head in a direction that fixes things, this is how we have to look at it. We need to be able to come to an agreement on what's good and what's bad. It's not the oil companies that are doing it. It's what people are willing to pay. It's a stock market unavailable. It's not the oil companies are not raising the prices. It's the futures market. It's what people are willing to pay. That's they're bidding against. They're basically bidding against each other. Countries are bidding against each other because there's less oil. Or there's less gas, especially, but there's less oil available. We need to get to a point where we can agree on like things that are bad, and be willing to hold everyone accountable, no matter what side of the aisle they call themselves. Because let's be fair, Republicans and Democrats are corporations. Why is there less oil? Because the Strait of Hormuz is closed, and now the Bab el Mandeb Strait is closed. And Ukraine has pretty much destroyed most of Russia's capacity too.
Yeah, Ukraine just took out Russia's number one port facility that handles 2 million barrels a day. And I don't know how long it'll be closed, but it's closed right now, and Iran will keep hitting it. I mean, Ukraine will keep hitting it.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
And that's the thing, unavailable, and that's where our issue is. So we'll get people that will come in and say, like when we're talking about the e-files, we'll get people that come in and say we need to, put the Clintons, like they'll talk about the Clintons every time, and I'm like, I don't care. I want them all. We either need to decide, and again, this is not a statement on whether I think the Clintons did things. In the grand scheme of things, I don't care. If there's facts in the documents that show that they did it, that's all. That's it. That's all I need. We either need to decide. We need to decide whether pedos are bad or good. If they're bad, all of them need to be bad, and we cannot sit here and stand and protect anyone that does it just because of a letter next to their name. It's like the idea of when Republicans were coming in here and being like, oh my gosh, you supported Graham Plattner. Look at what kind of a person he was. Yeah, when we found out what kind of a person he was, you know what everyone on here was saying? He shouldn't be the nominee. And when we found out that the accusations of grape, we're like, really shouldn't be the nominee. And he was pushed out. But the Republicans voted in a guy who was found liable for grape as well. That's the problem. That's the problem. That will take all of us to band together. That's true. That's true. It will. Well, it'll take most of us. Because let's be fair, if we're talking extremes, there will be groups on both sides that will never agree with us at all. They just won't. They just won't. They view the world completely differently. You've got Christian nationalists who want the entire country to go back to the way it was when women and people of color had no rights at all. That's what they want. And there are people on the other side that want our government to be completely gone and want anarchy. And let's be fair, the center parts of the party have used those fears on their own people to get them to sit with this status quo crap for decades. It's not just Trump. This has been built up for decades. You can talk, Scott.
Yeah, I got a kick out of the Attorney General designate, Todd Blanche, saying that, well, the other 3 million files in the e-files, they're not relevant. That's why they haven't been released. Well, Mr. Attorney General, your opinion as to what is relevant or not relevant doesn't matter. A law was passed, signed by Donald Trump, by the way, that called for the release of all the documents. Whether you think they're relevant or not doesn't mean jack shit. The law did not say, well, the files should be released unless the Attorney General, for whatever reason, thinks they're irrelevant. No, that isn't what the law said. The law said to release them, period. As for who's in the files, it's really a simple thing. It's not Democrat, Republican, industrialist, politician, Hollywood actor. Doesn't matter who's in them. Doesn't matter. Like you said, Mike, it's an issue. It's a basic issue of right and wrong. This isn't complex, folks. This isn't deep thinking time. This is, are they in the files or aren't they? And if they're in the files, begin an investigation of them.
Yep. What was
it's
their
as simple as that.
Yep. And that's awesome, Unavailable. I'm glad that again, not knowing your views on things, it's great that we can come to agreements on stuff. Really, again, this is what I always say. We need to be able to come to a point where we can agree on fundamentals. Fundamentals being all people, no matter your race, religion, gender, or identity, deserve rights, respect, dignity, and safety. If we can agree on that, then we have the capability of moving forward. The problem we're dealing with right now is there is a large chunk of people that, whether they realize it or not, do not agree with that fundamental. And in ways that they don't realize that they're not agreeing with that fundamental by voting for a man who was found liable of grape, by supporting a man who has 34 felonies, by supporting a man who actively talked about grabbing women in their private parts,
let alone January 6th.
let alone January 6th.
And cheating on his income taxes and running a fraudulent charity for children with cancer. Yeah.
Yeah. So
I mean, the list goes on and on. We could talk through the weekend of the list of horribles with this guy.
And that's where the frustration of a lot of people that consider themselves on the left side of the aisle of some extent, that's where our frustration comes from, right? For everyone who's there, one of the main problems is the distortion of information, but the biggest thing is cleaning up Congress. I mean, I think, yes, I will agree that there is a problem with the distortion of information. And Scott, this is something that we've talked about before, and I don't know the right answer for it, because, you know, as a person that believes in the truth, and no matter how much no matter how much it hurts at times, you know, the thing that always comes to my head is well, we need to put something together that you know, can hold people that put information out accountable. And I know the question always is well, who are you going to trust to do that? And it's like, I don't know, but we need to figure something out, because I don't think what we're dealing with right now and what we're allowing right now is sustainable for the country.
Well, the point that the poster made about Congress is quite true. If we're to take a look at some of the problems that we're facing right now, it's because Congress has so abdicated its Article 1 rights and responsibilities. They have basically been neutered by the president, and our government is not functioning as designed. Now, we could argue whether the design of our government is advantageous or not, but it's the government that we have right now, and it's not functioning. And it's not functioning because the first branch of government, which is not the executive, which is not the judiciary, the first branch of government is the Congress. And our founders envisioned that as being the most powerful branch of the government, and it's not functioning at all.
And you're right. We keep putting the same people in Congress, which is why I keep saying we need to focus on primaries more. The primary is where you choose how you want the country to look like, what you want the future to look like. And general election is where you choose between who made it through the primaries. And right now, only 15 to 25% of voters, of not even just of voters, of eligible voters, vote in the primaries. 15 to 25%.
Well, that's quite right. That's quite right, Mike. 93% of congressional seats are not competitive. They're you know, they favor one side or the other. So if you want to have a say in Congress in one of those districts, the primaries are the place to do it, because the general election is a foregone conclusion.
And everyone here agrees getting big money out of elections is also necessary. Unfortunately, there's only two ways to do it. One, get people in the Supreme Court to re-look at whether or not corporations are people, and overturn Citizens United that way, which is a temporary thing, because just like a Supreme Court can decide one way, a new one can flip it, or a constitutional amendment. Those are the only two ways. The only way we can guarantee pull the idea that corporations can be people out of a First Amendment free speech idea is if we can get it in. Thank you, Cheeto. If we can get it into is if we can make it part of our Constitution. That is the only way we can do that as a for good fix. Weird again. So, and that involves having to get people in office that want to make those changes and hold them accountable if they don't. You know, that's why I've been interviewing literally hundreds of people who want state and federal, because we've got to get people in the state. We want
But everything that you're saying, Mike, presupposes something, an engaged citizenry, and that's what we need more than anything.
See, I here's the thing. I don't. Yes, having more quote unquote truth in the media. Hi, Sam. Well, welcome. Cheeto is your cat. Got it. I understand that having media be required to speak, to not do what it's doing currently just to get clicks is helpful, but it's not absolutely necessary. What is more necessary is our willingness to talk to each other more and have these kind of conversations. Because I'm more than willing, Scott and me and everyone else in here is more than willing to talk about where we're getting our information from, why we trust it, why we think it's right. We don't need the media to do it. We just have to be willing to be wrong and be willing to listen. Those are the important things. Right now, the reason that these kind of things are happening, the reason that nothing is really changing is because too many are so focused on being right that they are unwilling to listen when new data is presented to them. So that's where we're struggling. That's why we can't. That's why, like, when I come in and I say, but you have to get the word out there. But see, and that's the thing with the internet, it's not as hard as it seems, but it does take work. Because you look at there are some independent journalists out there that are slowly getting the word out, but you have to be willing to, people have to be willing to do the work. I say this before, you know, I've got 116,000 people that follow me on TikTok. I've got over 2,000 people that follow me on the tube. If everyone who followed me watched what I posted on these people that are running, that want to be held accountable, that want real change, that want people to be able to survive and afford to live. If you watched each one of those videos through, liked them, commented on them, even shared them, and I know I sometimes post a lot because there's a lot of people and we are so far down the rabbit hole that it's going to take more work to fix it, if that makes sense. Like nobody cares about oil. Actually, everybody cares about oil. Literally everybody cares about it. If you buy food, you care about
lying.
Oil.
You're lying. Oh, okay. That explains it.
If you drive a car, you care about oil. If you fly, you care about oil.
If you buy plastic bottles, you care about oil. If you use fertilizer, you care about oil and gas.
There's like, what, 600 products that we use on a regular basis that derive from oil?
That are petroleum based, yes.
No, he's not. He's just a troll. I hate to think about it, but our country is headed for implosion. I mean, there's definitely a danger, but here's the thing, and this is the thing I have to keep reminding myself just as much as anyone else. It feels bad for us. It feels bad. How many people thought it was the end of the United States during the Great Depression? If we're being honest with ourselves. How many people thought it was the end? How many people thought it might have been the end during World War II?
And I'm old enough to remember Vietnam. If you think the country was ripped to shreds now, you should have seen it in Vietnam, and we came through that.
Now, again, could this be different? Yeah, there are things we have today that we didn't have then. Exactly. But there are like the internet. It's one of those, a positive and a negative. For people that aren't willing to have conversations and do the work, it's very easy to go down a rabbit hole of your algorithm. But younger people as a whole do understand the internet better than people my age and older. And while they allow the algorithm to kind of control what they see, they also understand that the algorithm controls what they see. And they know how to get around it if that's what they want to do. The real problem is we need people to care. We need we need younger people to care. We need older people to care. We need everyone to actually care enough to talk. Oh, sure, it's easy for people to blame. That's what we do. Again, this is the whole purpose of this podcast. This podcast exists because I'm tired of just all of us talking about what's wrong. It's easy to talk about what's wrong. That's the easiest thing. Scott and I could list off problems for the next hour on what's wrong in this country and in this world. The rabbit hole is surely getting deeper, and that's true. It's going to be a lot of work. It's going to be a lot of work. It's going to be a lot of work, and it's going to be exhausting, and there are going to be days that we're going to want to give up and not do it anymore, and we're going to have to keep doing it. Because it's not even common sense. And this is not against you. I don't like the term common sense, because what's common sense for you might not be common sense for me, because what feels like common sense is all based on our experiences. No one just magically thinks these things. Our experiences decide how we view things. It feels common sense for someone who's never used a phone to say that using everything a physical ballot is easier. But for people that use phones all the time and understand how they work better than older people, it might feel like common sense to use a phone and a phone app for voting. That's the problem with the idea of common sense. Is it's not there's really no such thing as common sense. I hear what you're saying, though. Even old people, you can use the phone. Yes, that's not what I'm saying. I'm just the idea was this idea of what is common sense for people. But I think everyone can use a phone. People use phones all the time. I think there are ways that we can do it that can make it safe, easier, more accessible. There are lots of ways we could do it. We just got to be willing to try and put in the work. We should switch to digital and mail-in voting. I agree. If you look at the states that do only mail-in voting, they're actually safer than in-person voting. I no longer trust the government. Well, I mean, the government has no authority. I mean, are you talking about the federal government or state governments too? I mean, they have the capability of screwing with elections, whether by phone or not. What would be the difference? Well, states run elections, not the federal government. So I'm not sure how the federal government could screw with voting by phone. Not every solution is going to benefit everyone. That is true. But the question is whether those solutions will hurt someone and benefit others. I think there are solutions that can help people, but not actively hurt other people. They can just be kind of washes. And that's kind of, sometimes those will be the solutions. And also, benefit is relative.
Midnight, I hear what you're saying, but it's not just the media telling us that. It's people who are experts in election law who are telling us that too.
So let's give, who's given Joe Biden 4 years of credit? And Joe Biden didn't promise to bring down prices on day one, to end the war on day one, that he was going to start no new wars. I could go on and on about the things this man promised that would happen within the first day or year. He actually said within the first year he would cut our healthcare costs in half, and if he didn't, then we could be angry with him. Because prices were down before Biden got to office. Biden didn't make that promise. Trump did. Are you saying we shouldn't hold people accountable for what they promise they're going to do? No, they haven't come down at all. Not as fast. They haven't come down at all. Prices have gone up. But you're not mad at Joe Biden for causing prices of goods to go up. What did Joe Biden do to cause prices of goods to go up?
Bill, you do remember that we had a pandemic, don't you? And you do remember that American inflation was lower than any other industrialized country coming out of the COVID. I mean, you do know that, don't you? And you do know that when Biden was president, the World Bank said that the American economy was the wonder of the world. That's the World Bank speaking.
They are not.
They called the American economy the wonder of the world. Is anybody calling the American economy the wonder of the world today?
They are not coming down. Prices are not going down at all. In fact, they're going to go up more soon. Healthcare companies are already starting to project next year's increases. And they're anywhere from 5 to 25%. Thank you, Unavailable. I appreciate that. And these aren't easy conversations. But yeah, prices are up like everywhere. Cost of living up. Healthcare up. He just put on new tariffs. That's going to cause everyone's prices to go up. Like, just going up. Going up. My gas in my area went up 40 cents in one day. Wait a second. No. 30 cents in one day. Can we talk about the shortage of healthcare providers in many places around the country? That's what happens when you cut funding.
Midnight, you raised a very good point. And the real crunch is going to come 2 weeks after the midterm elections when the cuts to Medicaid kick in. And that is going to really destroy rural health care and ex-urban health care. You're going to have healthcare deserts out there. And that not only takes away people's health care, but also some of the best paying jobs in those counties, rural counties, the best paying jobs are usually centered around the hospital system. And according to the Rural Healthcare Association, who would know, the trade group for rural hospitals, 50% of rural hospitals are going to face financial distress. Why? Because they depend upon Medicaid money to make money.
The Affordable Care Act is health insurance. The Affordable Care Act is a marketplace for people to get health insurance. And Medicaid is not welfare. It's still a form of insurance that people pay into, that they pay into, that all people pay into.
Kevin, that doesn't change the point that rural hospitals depend upon Medicaid money. Nursing homes depend upon Medicaid money. They depend upon that. That's their profit margins.
I just interviewed someone. Stop depending on taxpayers. You depend on taxpayers, Kevin. You depend on taxpayers. We all do. That's how a society works. 75% of the things you do and have benefited from in your entire life are thanks to taxpayers that you have depended on. Do you ride on roads? Taxpayers. Unless you've never ridden on a road. Yeah, sanitation. Do you use the bathroom? Taxpayers.
Do you collect Social Security? Are you going to collect Medicare? Of course, you're going to be on Medicare once you're 65. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
that's
Food that
paid for too.
that didn't want to give you explosive diarrhea, that would have been also taxpayers, but this president decided to defund that.
And I see where they just the New York Times reported that the government has laid off 200 employees at DNI. That's half their in-house workforce. And because our foreign policy is going so well, let's fire a bunch of experts because we don't need experts anymore. Because Jared and Steve Witkoff are doing such a marvelous job.
Lauren said she got cyclospora, and it's like the gift that keeps on giving. Oh, Lauren, I'm sorry. I can't even imagine how that must feel. And again, this is the part that I need us to understand. Kevin talking about the problem of how we use our taxpayer money isn't a bad thing to talk about. It's when we talk about it in such a way that ignores the reality of a society, of a functioning society, that the conversation dies. Should we as a country want less people to be able to survive on their own without having to use federal money to survive? Yeah, that's a perfectly valid desire. I think everyone who works should, if you work a full-time job, you should be able to make enough to survive. That's what I think. I think if we had single payer healthcare, we'd have more people happy and more people working because we wouldn't have to work for healthcare. Not to mention it will all cost us all less. There's so many benefits that come. Let's point out a problem. But let's be realistic about what the problem is and what a fix for that problem looks like. Because if we can't be real about all aspects of it, then there's no conversation to be had. It's like people that come in and just point out Biden. You've been here for more than 5 seconds. You know that, yeah, there are things that I believe that he did that were good. That doesn't mean I believe everything he did was good. That man supported the I country far too much and far too long, in my opinion. And plenty of other things. I don't think he's a crook. But I don't think he was perfect. And I think every president did wrong things. But at some point, we need to stop focusing on, again, we need to stop with the identity politics and going, what about X, Y, and Z man? It's either good or it's bad. Who are you talking about? A lot of people are trading stocks. Until we make it illegal for them to do it, it's not, technically it's not being a crook. It's just, that's more, I would officially call that
when you're doing stock trades based upon insider information, it is a crime.
It is. The problem is, again, we have to have people willing to hold them accountable for it. All of them. So again, it's not whether or not we can agree there's problems. I think all of us can agree there's problems. But we need to stop with this whole idea of Democrat, Republican, this identity thing. Because the identity part is what's making our ability to fix anything impossible. Oh, yes. Trump is absolutely manipulating the market. No question. No question. Sorry, I didn't know who you were talking about. You just came in and said he is a crook, so I wasn't sure. But based on what you're saying, I'm assuming you're saying Trump is a crook. But House and the Senate are both BS. The House and the Senate, yes and no. They are what we allowed them to become. And I say this understanding the realities of it. But we allowed this by not being involved in things like primaries. By allowing them to just tell us what we wanted to hear and allowing them to just blame the other side and keep supporting them. Again, there is no argument that there are many, if not a majority, of the people in Congress right now that should no longer be there for a myriad of different reasons. But they got to where they are because we, as the voting people, the people whose job it was to hold them accountable, chose not to do it. The bills that go through now only help the rich. Where are the American people? Yeah, you're absolutely right. But the only way we're going to fix that is if we start getting people through the primaries and then through the general election that want to do something different. And then we need to hold them accountable if they don't. Yep. We also need age limits, term limits. Because again, we already know people aren't going to do the work, or at least not enough people, at least not right now. Maybe it'll change. Maybe my dreams will come true. I think many are in shock and everything is moving so fast. It makes it hard for the focus to be consistent at times. A lot of things grabbing people's attentions these days. Of course, yeah, that's definitely a difficulty. Which again is why I mean, I can't speak for everyone. What do? When it comes to most of my work, most of my interaction with what's going on, I watch 50,000 people. I don't sit there and doom scroll. I watch certain people that I know at least. Oh, okay, James. Thanks for playing. And then when things come up that seem like almost crazy, then I do extra research, and I go to, then in those specific cases I go into a broader thing. But that's why, like, you can't watch everything. That's why you should find people that give you the kind of information in a kind of way that helps you understand what's going on. That is what I hope to be for people. Again, I can't force people, and it's not always super exciting, but we try and talk things out and not just take the headline at face value. Guess what roads need to be maintained? Oil. True. True. Oh, you got a fan.
Oh, Midnight? Just a run-of-the-mill retired lawyer who's been a political junkie his whole life.
He doesn't like my present. They don't like my presentation. Fine. It's okay. I'm only slightly hurt, Midnight.
Midnight likes your presentation style.
I'm going to cry later. It's okay. It's okay to have a mindful approach in a fast moving world, especially in politics, takes work and intention. It does. It does. It's going to take work and intention from all of us. Again, this is not going to be easy. This is not going to be fast. We're used to a 24/7 news cycle and moving on to the next thing quickly. We've talked about some of these topics again and again and again. No, you're fine, Midnight. I was literally just giving you a hard time. I love Scott's style. That's why I keep bringing him up. Apparently this week was awful. Yes, Dylan. Yes, Dylan. Having a wheel come off while driving is kind of freaky, especially when you watch the wheel go past you. Like you slowing.
Was that your left front wheel?
Yep, that was driver's side wheel. So I just
Jesus Christ!
I felt a cha-chunk, and then I just saw the wheel go, and I'm like, oh my. And then I felt it go clunk, and I just moved over. Oh, it was the only reason I think it wasn't worse was I felt the shaking getting worse, and I started slowing down, and I was going like slow. I think that's the only reason that it was not as bad as it could have been.
Yeah, because losing a front tire, losing a rear tire, your car will still keep going straight. Losing a front tire, you lose all control of the car. You're very lucky. What was it? A broken axle or something?
No, the bolts literally holding the tire to the axle broke.
Wow. Huh.
Or I should say 2 of them broke, which popped off the lug nuts on the rest of it. I don't even know where they were. Like people were coming up and like, if you have the lug nuts, I can help you put it back on. I'm like, I like showed him and I'm like, see these 2, they're gone. And I don't know where any of the lug nuts are. Oh, it was very dangerous. And it was a really busy road too. So there were a few almost accidents from people not paying attention. These were brand new tires. Like this was like some people in around me were nice and knew my family only had one car and basically got this car and put a whole bunch of new stuff into it. new tires, all that stuff. So it was, I've had the car for months. So it's not like I just started driving and this happened. Like this, I don't know. It doesn't matter. The point is, I'm just glad I did not crash and burn, but I don't know if the car is going to be savable. So,
Is this your only car?
no, we've got another car, luckily, but
Oh, good, good.
but you know, she works and I'm, you know, I'm traveling too, so it's making life interesting, that's for sure. I got new tires once and they didn't tighten. Yeah, so when the shaking first happened, I thought like I hit a pothole and it just got out of balance because it felt the same. And then it just kept getting worse and I was like, "Okay, something else is wrong." And then it was gone. And if you can file an insurance claim, there goes your monthly rate. The car isn't worth enough for that. Car isn't worth enough for that. The only way that I'm gonna get this car, that this car is gonna not get just donated, is if the people that helped get it are gonna help me do the work and get the people that put the tires on to like pay for it. The car isn't worth it. It's like a 2002 Infiniti QX4 with over 200,000 miles on it that I got for free. So it was great because it made it so I didn't have to like plan everything if I needed to go somewhere to like bring my wife to work or walk to her work to grab the car to do things. It was nice. But we've survived with one car for God. We have had one car in our household for 15 years. So it just gave up. Loose lug nuts, heavy odometer use. Yeah. Check the alignment next. Oh yeah, everything's gonna have to get checked. That thing was sitting with the front down on the pavement for 3 hours. Yeah. If I'd be, like I said, I'd be amazed if the thing is actually fixable. It was terrifying. It really was. Like, it was actually interesting. I was thinking while it happened. So one of the things that was amazing to me was how many people stopped to make sure I was okay. Like, I had a guy on the other side of the road drive. They were in traffic the other way and was like, "You okay?" And I was like, "I'm okay. I got AAA coming." And he's like, "You need water?" I'm like, "No, I'm good." And they were just like, they just decided he needs water. And they just did a U-turn farther down and came and handed me a water and then had to go drive down and then get back in the lane to get back to where they were going. And it's like, it was one of those things, and it's one of those things where it happened and I was sitting there going, this is what I'm talking about when I say we need to get back to fundamentals. Because at that moment, I was a guy on the side of the road whose car didn't have a wheel. They didn't care about my political party or my gender or who I'm attracted to. They saw a person in trouble and they wanted to help. And it was all kinds of people in all different ways. And it was just,
Well, Mike, we've all heard the phrase, the wheels are coming off. In your case, they were literally coming off.
That's
and
true.
Especially being a front wheel, you are one lucky guy. I'll tell you that. because that can be, you lose complete control of the car when something happens in the front end.
Yep. Yeah, like I said, if I wasn't going slow, it might have been been, I can't imagine what it would have been. I'm glad I realized that it was bad and slowed down before it happened. Yeah. Oh, what was the other thing that I saw? So I think we talked about it a little bit. Do you think um have there been any new information about the 95 billion reconciliation thing that went to the Senate?
Yeah, I understand. You can't hold me to this because I heard it on TikTok, so I don't know if it's true. I generally don't believe much that I hear on this app, but
Yeah.
at any rate, that the House bill had the poison pill of part of the SAVE Act in it, and that'll never get through reconciliation in the Senate. So I don't know what type of performative games they're playing there.
Yeah. You know, especially, I think, as we talked about, especially with pretty much guaranteed 2 senators that are like flat out no, even like wouldn't vote on it through reconciliation, wouldn't vote on it through any of this stuff, because it's not like, for Alaska, it literally would cost people $1,000, which by its very nature is a poll tax, which would make it unconstitutional just on that merit alone, let alone the other things. Like, there's no way it could get put in place. And again, can you imagine 220 million people going in and trying to have to re-register? It would. You think the DMV is bad now? Holy shit.
The whole thing is ridiculous. Number one, it can't get through reconciliation, which means it's going to need 60 votes. Now, why can't it get through reconciliation? Because it's not a finance bill. If it's not a budgetary matter, it has to go through the filibuster, which means you need 60 votes. Obviously, they don't have 60 votes. Even if they could find a way to have it as a standalone, if they got rid of the filibuster, I don't think they'd get the 50 votes anyway. I don't think there are 50 votes there for it.
Yeah.
And thirdly, you just mentioned the third part of it. It's a poll tax. It's going to be found unconstitutional. So no matter how you look at it, this is all a waste of time.
Now, this all comes with a major caveat of, we understand that our Supreme Court is whacked out, and trying to say anything is a guarantee with this Supreme Court is not always right. But I think this is about as black and white of a poll tax as you could possibly get. Again, just with Alaska alone. They're not about to get rid of the filibuster when they're about to lose the House and possibly Senate. Also true.
And by the way, the point you're making about Alaska, of course, you're referring to Senator Murkowski. But Sullivan is the one, he's the other incumbent. He's up in November. I wonder how he's going to vote. He's already in a very tight race. He's actually down a few points to Peltola. And is he really going to vote for this that's going to cost his constituents an average of $1,000 a pop? I don't think so.
Yep. And you're right, Aaron. They're not getting rid of the filibuster when they're about to lose, at minimum, the House. Applied for my passport months ago, still waiting. Yeah, unfortunately, any of us that really wanted to get our passports probably should have gotten them like before, like right after he won. A goal: destroy world economy. I think here's the thing about world economy. The world economy, like, yes, if something happened to the United States, the world economy would be hit hard short term. the thing that we need to remember that we've seen is a lot of the world is adjusting, is already working on cutting the United States out of their trade routes, of their trade deals, of their all that stuff. So yes, the world would struggle to at the beginning, depending on when it happened. But I firmly believe, honestly, that the world is moving to decentralize the United States as the basically the main global power anyways. And it is thanks to this administration, first and now. I mean, the only reason we were the dead center is because of the luck of the draw of World War II. That's really what it is. We were the last man standing. Everyone else was decimated. There was no one else. There was no one else to even attempt to hold, to try and stand up to the same level. I mean, obviously Russia tried, Soviet Union tried. But they had to rebuild after the war too. So we still had a jump start. We're not going to have that this time.
Yeah, in 1945, when the war ended, the United States, with less than 5% of the world's population, controlled over 50% of the world's gross domestic product. We were in a historically strange time that we were the only person standing. Germany was obviously in ashes. Japan was in ashes. Great Britain was broke. France was divided, and the Soviet Union had suffered horrific losses in the Second World War, over 25 million unalived, and the industrial western part of their country literally destroyed.
Yep. But in this case, you know, hopefully, honestly, if we're talking what is best for the world as a whole, it's for us as a world economy to be more balanced and trade and interact with each other and not have it be one country that kind of controls everything. I understand why, and it's been able to go as long as it has, but obviously we're at the end of that. We're at the end of that era. That era is good and gone. And we're and the funny thing is we're the ones that are destroying it, which when you think about it is probably more normal than it sounds. I'm trying to think of historically, most of these big empires die from the inside, not from the outside.
Especially democracies. It's hard to think of too many empires that didn't well, all empires eventually fail, and the British Empire, the Tsarist Empire,
Roman,
the Ottomans, the Romans, the Greeks, the Byzantines, they all failed. Maybe it's our turn, I don't know, but democracies generally rot from within, and we're doing a hell of a job so far.
And who knows what could come of it? Maybe something better will come of it. I fear the amount of suffering that will happen before we get there. Thank you, Alex. I appreciate you. You have the government you deserve. I mean, I can't argue that. Look who we voted into office. Look who a majority of the country of the voters voted into office. And the reality is for the people that decided not to vote and the people that voted for him, yeah, that's the answer.
Yeah, that's one of the oldest saying in politics, is that you get the governance that you deserve, and that really is true. reelected him. So elections have consequences, folks, as we are all painfully aware of now.
Yep. So just so everyone knows, tomorrow there will be no live because I have a morning rehearsal and then show in the evening. And then I have a show on Saturday. So I'll be back Monday morning, normal time, which is 9:30 Eastern on the tube, 10 Eastern on TikTok. So if you want to hang out for 30 minutes over in the tube, or you just want to watch the videos that I'm posting of people I'm interviewing, we got some really cool other interviews. Now that like a lot of the primaries are over, I'm still getting some people for interviews, but it's not as crazy it was. So I'm actually starting to get some different kinds of people again for interviews. For those of you who remember Adam Dunnigan, who's running for Virginia's 8th. He's also former Marine and former case officer with the CIA. I'm going to be interviewing him next week, talking about Iran and everything that's going on and some stuff that he's talked about in his social media platforms. So, and then just some different groups and different people, and there's a lot of cool things coming. So if you're not following over there on the tube, please follow over there and help. If you like these kind of conversations, if you like what I do, the best way to help is to follow and watch and share the content. It's the easiest thing. It's obviously, if you have the ability to support financially, that helps as well. But the easiest thing to do is watch and help out, because I do a lot of work and I'd love to keep doing this. I'd like to make this a full-time job. I'd love to make this a full-time job, where I can, hire tons of people and have tons of amazing conversations. It's just not as exciting as the debate ones, but I think it's what we need if we really want to fix things. So, guys, thank you so much for being here. Scott, thanks for coming up. I appreciate you, buddy.
Thank you for having me.
So I will see you guys on Monday. I might go live this weekend since I'm not going live on Friday, but I can't promise anything. It depends how tired I feel. But definitely I'll see you Monday. I hope you guys have an amazing, amazing weekend. I hope you guys do something fun. It's going to be raining here, so we're probably not doing anything outside, but stay strong, get some hope, because there are people fighting everywhere. And we got to keep on keeping on. That's the way we're going to fix everything. I'll see you guys on Monday. You guys are amazing, just the way you are. I love you very much. Stay safe, stay healthy. Remember to sing, laugh, dance, smile. Do something that makes you happy. Bye, guys.